moving how fast?
It's moving 1,000, whatever the Earth is moving, plus whatever it's moving. Because it's on the Earth.
What's the plus?
Somewhere around 30 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
They land planes on aircraft carriers going 30 miles per hour?
About, yeah.
What is the actual number? Do you know?
It's around, it varies. Depends on wind speed.
Classified, but...
Interesting. It's classified.
Yeah, the top speed of an aircraft carrier is classified.
Okay, and well, can we just where's the evidence of them landing going 30 miles per hour? We've seen it happen.
I've seen it happen. I've been on an aircraft carrier, stationed on an aircraft carrier. I've also been the throttleman on an aircraft carrier that controls the fucking ship's speed, has it right in front of me all the time. I know how they do flight ops.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got the right number. So 30 miles per hour or so, that's analogous to the Earth spinning?
Yes.
The Earth spins
Well, I mean, it's not analogous because what you're failing to realize, Witsit, is that when the airplane takes off the surface of the Earth, it's already got whatever inertia it started with. The same way that when the little palm-sized drone takes off from the tray table in the flying airplanes, in the flying jet, it has whatever speed the jet was already going. It doesn't have to try to match the speed of the jet. It's already going that speed, so unless it's acted on by another force, it's not going to affect its speed in any way.
So is the plane in a separate frame of reference?
No.
So it's in the same frame of reference?
I mean, no, the plane is in its own frame of reference the same way as the palm-sized drone is its own frame of reference. The minute that it leaves the tray table or the plane leaves the ground, it's decoupled. But that doesn't mean that decoupled doesn't mean that all of a sudden it loses all its speed, because some force would have to act on it for it to lose all its speed.
Hey, man. So the plane is in an independent frame of reference.
Oh, you can make any frame of reference you want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter what frame of reference you choose. It doesn't matter what frame of reference you choose.
Hey, bud, when you said no, you were immediately excluded from the conversation because you don't even know the other religion.
You should be excluded from the conversation because you fucking think the Earth is flat, you retard.
Okay, but what I'm saying is you weren't actually defending what the model says at that point, so I really
It doesn't matter what frame of reference you choose.
If you remember, Witsit, Brian Mullen...
You can... Sorry.
Brian Mullen did this totally wrong presentation where he said, if an airplane takes off on the equator going east, which is going 1,000 miles per hour, and then it has to land on a runway a few miles away, that's north to south. And when it makes that turn, the airplane has to lose 1,000 miles per hour of its velocity. And that's obviously completely wrong because the runway is moving 1,000 miles per hour east, even though it's a north-south runway, it's moving 1,000 miles per hour in that direction. So even if some guy with a powered parachute that's only going 20 or 30 miles an hour takes off, he doesn't have to lose 1,000 miles per hour of tangential velocity because the runway that he's landing on is that same tangential velocity.
That was, of course,
the conservation of inertia.
That was, of course, just a big monologue of you reifying your...
Do you not agree? Do you not agree with that? Do you not agree that Brian Mullen was wrong about it?
I agree the Earth is spinning. No, why are you talking about someone else that isn't here?
That's fine. You don't have to agree with that, but you can agree that if it was spinning, that this is a silly conversation. There's no reason for you to believe that it spins, but...
No. So what direction does the Earth spin?
What do you mean, what direction does it? It spins from west to east.
Okay. So the Earth spins west to east.
Right.
And so if we land a plane on a runway west, it's the same as if we land it on the runway east when it has an independent frame of reference.
The same reason why the drone the little palm-sized drone that you can buy for $30 at the store, the same reason why you can take that off the tray table and fly it around the airplane going 600 miles per hour and then land it right back on the tray, and from the pilot's perspective that's flying the drone, it would be no different than if he was sitting in his living room, even though he's in an airplane going 600 miles per hour.
Yeah, there you go. There's another not analogous fairy tale of you reifying your belief system. So because your little analogies don't work at all if you don't presuppose the Earth spinning. You just can't detect it. So when the wheels hit the runway that's spinning, it now enters into the frame of reference of the Earth.
Oh, it's still in the fucking reference frame of the Earth. We can have multiple reference frames, and still something can still be in another reference frame. Like you can have infinite fucking reference frames. It doesn't matter, Witsit. It
So
doesn't
wait.
fucking matter. That's what you
Is
don't
the-
understand, is that it doesn't matter if something is moving and another thing is moving. You can choose one reference frame. That's all you need to do is choose one reference frame. You don't need to choose multiple reference frames just because something is moving.
Okay. So is it in the Earth's reference frame when
Yes.
it's flying?
Yes, because everything is in everything else's reference frames, because that's how reference frames work, Witsit.
Okay, well, your religion claims it has an independent frame of reference when it's off the
Yes,
Earth.
you can always
I
make an
guess
independent frame of reference on anything.
nice
anything.
semantical. Hey, you're trying to semantically divert away because you're scared. You can't answer the
No.
question.
No,
Because you're
do you not
What
agree with
happens
the analogy, though? Do you not
when
agree
land
that
on
for the
the Earth? Does it enter the Earth's reference frame?
it's already in the Earth's reference frame.
So nothing changes when
Her-
the plane's in the air and the tires hit the ground.
No.
Damn, I guess you have to throw Coriolis out the window in your
Unless
entire
it's-
model. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Oh my god, you're such a fucking idiot, dude.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Welcome
Yeah.
to
Which
Flat
is,
Earth, buddy.
why do you not like my drone analogy? Do you not agree
You
that
just
for the
got
person flying the
smoked.
drone in the 600 mile per hour airplane, it's no different their experience from flying it in their living room?
Hey, why don't you understand the simplicity of the fact that your
Why are
model
you dodging my question? Why are you running away
You're
from this
like-
question?
Reference frames don't prove shit, Witsit.
So you have to answer the question.
There's no need to argue about reference frames. It's obvious that the guy flying the drone in the airplane, it's for him, it's no different than flying it in his living room.
Cool story, Jake. So how about you answer the question?
You don't think that's true? What's it? You don't think that's true?
Hey, are you answering the question the same way he did? That whenever the wheels hit the runway, does it enter the Earth's reference frame?
It's already in the Earth's reference
I'm
frame.
not asking you. We've heard your answer 5 times. Jake, what's your answer?
And you can look at any reference frame that you want. And it doesn't go from one reference frame to another. That's some silly misunderstanding of reference frames.
Right. So then you're saying the surface of the Earth has the same reference frame as something detached from it.
Witsit. No. Reference frames
Uh-huh.
can be chosen arbitrarily. It doesn't fucking matter.
Wow,
Nice.
you guys are going down in flames right now. Your religion's
You
looking.
can observe the drone from the Earth's reference frame. You
The
can
drone
observe the
that
drone from the drone's reference frame, or observe the Earth from the drone's reference frame. They all exist simultaneously, and it's not that one thing moves into another reference frame. That's not how reference frames work.
Yeah, you claim that if a plane's flying, it's not in the same reference frame as
Reference frames would be literally like saying camera angles. From this camera angle, it looks like this. From that camera angle, it looks like that. From the camera angle of the Earth, the airplane looks like it's flying over it. From the camera angle of the plane, the Earth looks like it's flying under the drone. That doesn't mean that, oh, the plane took off. Now that camera angle is suddenly in a different camera angle, or that drone is down a different camera angle.
This is what's it's always entertaining to read the chat and read how all these people literally think that you guys are the smart ones right now and that I am dumb.
That's because you
So
are the
fun.
dumb one, Witsit.
Why are you ignoring?
I empathize with.
Why are
how
you ignoring my
dumb you
drone
are.
example? And why? And if you're disagreeing with it, please tell me why you disagree with it. Why do you not want to talk about my drone example, which is directly correlated to this idea about the Earth spinning and planes taking on and off the Earth?
Rotating surface, Jake, you psychopath. So define Coriolis.
Coriolis is the difference in tangential velocity at the surface of the Earth and the retained inertia by an object as it moves from one area of one tangential velocity to another area of a different tangential velocity.
You see how hard you had to try not to say what you were supposed to say at the end there, which was frame of reference? That was hilarious.
No, we don't have to talk about frames of reference for
So
this.
Coriolis doesn't have anything to do with frame of reference?
You can analyze it through different frames of reference, sure, but no.
Well, that's how your religion analyzes it.
I mean, it's sometimes useful in physics to look at things from different frames of reference.
That doesn't mean that they're in different frames of reference. There are multiple frames of reference all the time, everywhere. Everything is in an infinite number of frames of reference with it. That's what you
So
don't
when I
fucking
shoot a
understand.
bullet,
Things don't just enter different frames of
Yeah.
reference. They're
Things
already
don't
in
go
those
from
frames
one frame of
you're
reference
just going
to
to keep
another.
repeating
That's
your
a
same
misunderstanding.
definition of frame of reference, and you
Just
think that
just think of
that shows that you're dumb. So please stop interrupting and looping yourself.
just think of frames of reference like a camera angle of a camera mounted on an object, right? You have the ground frame of reference if it's mounted to the earth, and then you have the aircraft's frame of reference as if a camera is mounted on the airplane.
Okay, so when I shoot a bullet,
and when the airplane takes off from the earth, it doesn't suddenly enter a new frame of reference.
okay, so
That's
it's
just
in the
nonsense.
so it's moving with the earth.
Yes, it retains the inertia it has when it takes off the surface, which is why you have Coriolis, because when it moves to a different latitude, it will retain some of the, unless there's some force acted on it, which in the case of an aircraft, it's going to be the wind resistance. It's going to then modify, it's going to apply a force that will change that aircraft speed to match the tangential velocity of the Earth.
Okay, so
The projectile that's moving quickly, for a projectile that's moving quickly, it has such a low drag profile that the relative change in the wind speed is not enough to scrub away the inertia that it has from its original starting point. So that's why you see this deflection in the Coriolis.
We need to keep this at a simple level. Do you understand his confusion, Jake?
It's not
I mean,
confusing.
he seems to be
dumb.
dubious of the fact that the airplane continues to move with the Earth, that it carries that inertia,
Right.
that momentum.
So,
you know what I mean?
to pretend
So
I
it's
don't
a-
know what
you
the
understand-
argument is hilarious. So what we're talking about is,
So-
does the atmosphere move separately from the Earth? Yes or no?
Here's the deal. See, you can go back to the choo-choo train that's going along the table that pops the ball up into the air, and the ball continues to move forward in the direction of the little train and falls back down into the pipe it was shot out of. Do you understand that? What's it?
Yeah,
Is that too difficult for you?
yeah. Do you understand your
Okay, so why are you asking
Separate
if
from
the
the Earth?
plane is still continuing to move with the Earth? Why?
Because you guys are hilarious, and you think
Why are you asking
because
this?
your model claims that there's a deflection.
Witsit, you
right?
just agreed that it should still move with the Earth.
No, I did. Your model claims there's a deflection in the atmosphere, and then you're telling
Hold on, no, stop, Witsit. Not deflection in the what? My God, dude, keep it simple. Keep on this one little point. Just like the ball falling back down into the moving train, it kept moving forward, even though it was shot up into the air. It kept moving forward. Now, just like the plane taking off from the Earth, what is wrong with that simple analogy?
So where's the ball? The ball just floating in air above the train?
You're being tactically fucking retarded, more so than you actually are, to escape this point that fucking eviscerates you.
No, it doesn't, because your model claims that the atmosphere has a little deflection, and now you're going to land a plane, and its
I
wheels
was
are going
just
to
trying to interject in order to bring just a little bit of simple point in order, but I'm going to abandon this completely. Everybody do as you fucking please. This
We
is
appreciate your attempt.
talking to this little fucking cunt.
You think that you can land the wheels of a plane onto the Earth the same exact way if you were flying east and landing on an east runway, or if you were landing west on a runway that's spinning?
Yes, it's the same reason why are you ignoring the example of the drone? From the perspective of the drone pilot in the airplane going 600 miles per hour, he can fly that thing around in there and land it the same way he does in his living room. He's completely oblivious to the fact the airplane's going 600 miles per hour. And when the drone is hovering, when the plane is hovering over the tray table, the drone does not have to go 600 miles per hour in order to keep up with the airplane.
So when the plane
Also, they can land on battle carriers that are actually moving.
oh my God! So when the 30 miles.
Yeah, let Witsit finish. Go ahead. Witsit, why do you not want to talk about this drone in the airplane? And why does that not completely debunk this idea of, a helicopter on the Earth that's rotating, all it would have to do is hover and wait for the Earth to move underneath it? You see why that's stupid, right?
No, I want you guys to have to. Your belief system's stupid. That's why you keep interrupting me and touting.
Well, do you think that that's a do you like that argument that if the Earth was rotating,
No.
the helicopter would have to hover and then just wait for the Earth to spin underneath it in order for it to get to its destination? Do you see why that's a stupid argument?
Well, because you claim that that it moves with the Earth at the same time that there's a.
I don't have to claim it. It's observable. It's just like I said, the drone that takes off on the tray table, it doesn't immediately fly to the back of the plane at 600 miles per hour. Or if you jump on an airplane going 600 miles per hour, you don't suddenly fly backward at 600 miles per hour. You land right back. Your feet land right where you started.
How is a closed system analogous?
The only thing that matters, whether it's quote unquote closed system or open system, is whether there's any wind resistance that's going to apply a force. And for example, in the case of the choo-choo train with the ball, that's not in a closed system, but it's going slow enough that the wind resistance of the train that's moving on the desk a few miles per hour is nowhere near enough drag to slow the ball down, which is why the ball lands right back where it started.
Okay, so I'm just going to go straight to the question you guys have to answer. So when the plane lands on the Earth, right, and it's going a certain direction, it's actually simultaneously going backwards the opposite direction, correct?
It could be, depending on, it could in certain, like for example, if the airplane is landing from east to west, it would be fighting the speed of the Earth, so to speak, from the perspective of that. It would be going, whatever landing speed it is, slower than that tangential velocity.
Yeah, exactly. So
from an outside perspective.
So whenever
that effect, it's called the F-force effect. We can measure it. It's measurable.
There's a measured acceleration change because it's losing.
So planes land at different speeds west.
No, because planes are only referencing the speed of the air over the wings, which is why the ground speed can be drastically different from one landing to another when it's landing into a headwind or into still air.
So you definitely didn't record this happening with planes. So whenever a plane lands west, right, it's actually going backwards 1,000 miles per hour simultaneously.
No.
Well, how not?
It would be going some fraction from an outside observer that's looked from a frame of reference that's outside of the Earth system, which would be like a camera in space, separate from the rotation of the Earth. The airplane may look from that perspective like it's flying, whatever landing speed plus or minus the speed of the Earth underneath it. But that's the same thing as from the drone perspective. Someone that's watching, a drone flying in a bus that's driving down the street. From that perspective, the drone looks like it's landing on the tray table with, whatever that speed of that bus is going. Even though from the perspective of the people on the bus, it's zero speed.
Okay, Jake, real quick, is he complaining possibly like some idea of an absolute speed with the fact that speed is relative to whatever you're, comparing it to?
He thinks that things enter separate reference frames when they leave the surface of the Earth.
Well, don't even talk in terms of reference frames. That's going to go nowhere.
Well,
you guys claim
the
about.
You're going to bring Zanuck into this, and we don't need that.
I'm just going to say, don't summon Zanuck.
You guys claim that the atmosphere moves separately from the Earth.
It's more accurately, it's decoupled from the Earth, but it still has a viscous coupling to the Earth, which drags it along and keeps it moving more or less with the surface of the Earth. The same way that if you start spinning a bucket with water in it, eventually the water in the bucket will start spinning with more or less the speed of the bucket.
Okay, so it's decoupled but coupled more or less.
But it's yes, because molecules are still interacting with the surface of the Earth.
Yeah,
and by the way, what you see is the higher up you go, the more decoupled it gets, which is why the jet stream is higher up. And then that's how you get jet streams is because of Coriolis, because air masses higher up that are more viscously decoupled from the surface, when they transition from one latitude to another, they can retain the inertia that it gained from the lower latitude to the higher latitude. And then that's how we get, well, what's the flat Earth explanation why jet streams are predominantly west to east all over the Earth?
There's a movement over top of the flat Earth. Wow.
What movement?
You're claiming that the
how
Earth
is that pressure there without a container?
Spinning separately.
Well, what's the explanation on the flat Earth why the jet streams around the world are predominantly west to east?
There's a movement over top of the Earth.
What movement over the top of the Earth?
Well, you
Just
guys
one
will be able to
column
get
of
triggered.
air?
There's a drift within the background medium.
And that
What's this
one
drift that you're
small column
talking
of
about?
air?
But wait, real
What's
fast.
pushing that air? You know, jet streams can go to like 300 miles per hour. What is pushing that air above the flat Earth, predominantly west to east?
I already answered that.
It's an
What is it?
insufficient explanation, though.
Just because you say that, so before we start arguing about the
Explain how
background,
it pushes one small column of air east to west. It doesn't affect anything else.
I just want to clarify here. You guys actually jumped in, said I was stupid, brought up a train, right? And I'm explaining to you that, first of all, trains aren't analogous when they're closed systems. Secondly, your religion says the atmosphere moves separately from the Earth. And thirdly, you have to say that when a plane lands west, it's simultaneously going backwards 1,000 miles per hour the opposite direction.
Have you ever seen those trains in rural India?
Train and use a flatbed truck. Is that better?
Oh no, actually, there are
still movement in the flatbed
trains.
truck.
You can still use a train. They have trains in, like I said, rural India. You know, where they pile up all up on top of that train. You know, they eat, they drink, they conversate, they walk around on the train, outside of the train.
Top of the train.
So
Yeah, how fast the train go?
not very.
Of course not, and they can still feel that they're moving, huh?
It's about probably what, maybe
But the
25,
important
25,
thing is
25 miles an hour?
when they
feel that
jump
they're
up, what's it? When they jump up, they still land back where they started from.
No, they don't jump very high.
Really high though, they disconnect from the train and fall way behind it. So they might
They
need.
don't. The only thing that would push them behind is depending on how fast the train is going, the amount of wind that's generating pressure via drag on the surface. That's the only force that's able to move them from the straight path
They
of the
just
train.
got to jump high enough to disconnect from the train, and they'll land far behind it.
Obviously, and then they would die.
Hold on. Can you step out of a moving vehicle and stand in place?
If it's not contained, yes. If the door is
So you
open, yes.
Okay, so if the door is open, you can just step out while it's moving, and you'll just step out on the ground as if it was parked, right?
No, you'll actually get drifted towards the movement you were going in.
Not
At
asking
first, you'll be
Justin
running
Lemon.
in tow
You
with
need to
the
make up your
car
mind.
and going the same speed as the
You
car.
independent
Then you will
movement,
disconnect from the car and fall behind it. Yes.
So, like I said, are you just going to be able to get out of the car like you would if it was parked?
No.
Or you just stand up? Well, then you got to make up your mind. Either you're moving with the car or not.
You're
You have
moving
to
with
make
the
your
car
own
for a
mind.
time
You have to
until
make
you
your-
disconnect from the car, move too far away from the car, then you fall away from the car.
Let's use this analogy of the car, okay? So we step out of the car that's moving, right? And when you do that, you will actually be carried in a direction based on the movement of the car. Now we're talking about how that would happen with the plane when its wheels land on the earth that spins.
Right. So you agree with inertia, Witsit. So that what we're saying with the airplane is that the inertia that it starts off with is not removed because the airplane flies from one location to another.
No, what we're talking about is when your feet hit the ground.
Now,
like,
it can be when the plane flies north to south, that inertia does have to be accounted for, which it does because of the aerodynamic forces on the airplane. The airplane will gain or lose the inertia it had from the tangential velocity it started with from one latitude to another. Very slow process that happens over hours, right? It's
Yeah, but that's
equivalent
nothing to
to
do with
having
the
a
earth
crosswind of a few miles per hour.
It has nothing to do with the earth spinning.
What do you mean?
Nothing. That has nothing to do with it. So the analogy is you come out, you stick your feet on the ground. Your feet are the wheels that hit the ground. That little thing that you feel based on how fast the car's moving, if it's barely moving, you'll still feel it. You'll still feel it. That change
Right.
would be huge.
Well, it's literally the same thing as the drone. You still fail to acknowledge the drone that's flying in the airplane, and why even though the airplane
You
is going
break your
600 miles
bones
per
and you
hour,
break the
a little
airplane.
palm-sized drone has no problem landing right back onto the tray table.
That's
You'd
a
break
closed
your bones and you'd break the airplane.
You can take the little drone off the tray table, fly it around in the cabin, and land it right back on your tray table, and it would be no different than doing it in your living room.
Within the
And it's the
system,
same case
yes.
for the
When you
airplane.
try
The
to
fact
leave
that-
the system and go against another system, that's when you have a problem.
just the
And
same
the
way
earth is
that
not contained enough
God,
for you to justify that analogy.
just in the same way that the cabin in the airplane is holding it's holding the air in the cabin at a speed, basically almost the same as the plane is going. Obviously, there's little vents blowing air around from the air conditioning system. the wind is moving at more or
And
less
the
the
Earth
same speed as the air.
solid
The air
covering.
in the cabin is moving at more or less the same speed as the tray table in the cabin. The same way the surface of the Earth is
solid
moving
covering, your
at more
analogy
or less
falls
the same
apart.
speed as the atmosphere
Just-
above it.
Doesn't have a solid covering, your analogy falls apart.
I mean, it's the same
similar
reason why
analogy.
with it, that the bucket that has an open top, when you spin it with the water in it, the water immediately will start to increase in speed until it more or less matches, is viscously
Hey, when
coupled
you
to the
step
walls
out
of the container.
Jake, when you step out of a moving car, what happens?
Inertia. What we're
You
trying to
feel it,
explain to you.
You can feel
Well, you're
the,
going to have the inertia of the car, that the speed at which the car is moving is the speed that your body is moving, and your body has inertia. So it's going to continue at that speed unless it's acted on by another force, in which case when you hit the ground is going to apply a force to your body.
welcome to Flat Earth. That's my entire point.
So then why would you ask the question about the airplane that's landing from one location or another, and why the surface of the Earth is irrelevant?
It's crazy. You don't get it.
I don't get it.
And you don't have containment for the Earth.
Why do you not see what's it that the drone taking off from the tray table on the plane and then flying around the cabin for 5 minutes and then landing back on the tray table is the same as an airplane taking off from one airport and then landing at another airport?
Look, this guy posted this GIF and says impossible.
Or the same airport.
Imagine being that lost. Like this guy's having to move around, make sure he lands in the same area, right? And it's barely moving.
He doesn't, Witsit.
Yes, he does.
He's just landing right back where he's at because, see, those walls are blocking the air, the wind, which is the only thing that would reduce his speed. The only thing in that picture that could reduce the speed of that guy so he doesn't land right back where he started from is the wind that would be blowing across it had those walls not been put up.
Fairy tales, Jake. Do you see the guy jumping
What, so you don't
really swimming in the air, Jake. Come on.
So you don't agree that you don't agree that if no other forces are involved, if you're blocking the wind, for example, in that example, that there is no force that would make you go backward, that you're just going to retain the same speed, whether your feet are touching the surface or whether you're flying?
The truck would go out from underneath them. If I step out of a car, my feet will touch the ground and I will feel the difference in movement instantaneously once I step my foot onto the ground. Once the wheel of the plane does that, you would feel it as well, relative to the direction you're going, the direction the Earth's supposedly spinning 1,000 miles per hour, objectively, but yeah, you claim you don't feel any of it. Planes don't have
Not how it works.
Not how it works. Not moving.
Not how it works.
This is what Brian Mullen was talking about in Balls Out Physics. He was talking about how the force of the Earth would basically rip apart the plane.
Witsit, do you not agree that when you're in an airplane that's going 600 miles per hour, or in the Concorde going 1,200 miles per hour, do you not agree that when you jump, even though you might be in the air for a second, you will land exactly right where you started from? The airplane is not going to move out from underneath you at whatever speed it's going. You agree with that, right, Witsit?
Closed system, not analogous to your fairy tale. You can't jump.
What you mean by closed system? All you mean by closed system is that the air in the cabin is moving at the same speed, so there's no air that's going to be pushing you backward the way that it would if you jumped off a car.
Is the plane moving at the same speed as the Earth?
No, we're talking. Yes, it is. Yes, in the case of the plane, yes, it is moving at the same speed of the Earth, unless it's steered into a direction where the engines will modify or the air resistance will apply a force to the plane that will change its speed relative to the surface of the Earth.
The plane is moving at the same speed of the Earth.
Yeah, plus whatever airspeed it has.
Oh, plus difference.
Yeah, plus whatever airspeed it has.
Oh, so it's not the same.
If it's going the same speed as the Earth, it wouldn't be able to change direction. Just like you're not able to change direction in a car and go against the motion of the car until you step out of the car so you can go against its movement. So that's a little bit of a contradiction.
It would be more analogous to a conveyor belt, right? It would be like
basically trying to say that the Earth is contained, even though it doesn't have any containment. That's why I keep on deferring back to the contained car and trying to make the wrong analogy of the open Earth.
I'm just confused with it because you acknowledge inertia, right? We're talking about Newton's laws of motion. We're saying that an object that's moving will continue to move unless it's acted on by a force to change that movement.
Or if it changes latitudes, right?
If it
Yeah, that there's a
changes
drift over the earth.
direction, nothing's being conserved, just like in the car. You have to go where the car tells you. You can't go against the movement of the car unless you step outside.
I'm just confused.
Like, oh, it goes away real little bit.
I'm just confused. What's it? I'm confused.
Spinning ball, okay? A giant spinning ball, like demonstration. And then I go land a drone on it, moving the opposite direction of the spinning ball. You're saying that when it lands, it would not be detectable at all, any difference. It would just immediately be landing forward at that speed and going backward simultaneously with no effect detected. That's dumb.
It always has the speed it inherited when it left the Earth.
The Earth is spinning east to west, but there are flights that go.
Well, I'm confused.
What's against this movement?
We got to get down to the
saying that you're in a westbound car and somehow you're able to travel east, even though the car is going west. That's absurd.
Well, I'm confused. Do you guys not agree?
Nothing is being
Do
conserved.
you guys not agree that when you jump inside a moving object, you will still land right back where you started from, regardless of how fast that object is moving? Do you guys not agree with that?
Earth isn't contained, so your analogy falls apart.
Do you agree with that? Witsit, do you agree with that basic premise that if you jump on a moving object...
Nick, for 10 minutes, we've asked you pointed questions, and you've been scared to answer any of them, and you keep bringing up things that aren't analogous.
I've tried to honestly answer every... What question have I not answered?
Like the last 5.
What question have I not answered?
If I land a drone going the opposite direction of a demonstration I have of a big spinning ball, right? Will it simultaneously continue to go the direction that it was going to land and go backwards without us detecting an effect?
It's literally, like I said, the same thing as the airplane moving and taking off the tray table and landing right back at it, even though that train table may have moved, 20 miles since it took off. In reference to the Earth, the tray table is now 20 miles further away from where it started from, but the drone still lands right back on that tray table, even though the drone can only fly a couple miles per hour.
You did it again, bro. You literally did it again. If we land the drone on the spinning ball, will there be an effect detected? Yes or no?
What do you mean, will there be an effect detected?
Yeah, will there be an effect? Will there be a difference? Because the drone is landing on the ball that's spinning the opposite direction, will it just seamlessly go that forward direction and simultaneously go backwards without there being any type of an effect?
Yes, the same reason why it will seamlessly fly around in that airplane and land right back where it started from. And from the perspective of the drone pilot in the airplane, it will be literally no different than flying it in his living room, even though he's in an airplane traveling 600 miles per hour. How do you not acknowledge that problem, Witsit? That's why this whole thing is dumb.
So your answer is yes.
Do you disagree with that, Witsit, that the drone flies exactly the same in the 600-mile-per-hour airplane as it does in the guy's living room? Do you not agree with that?
I'm saying the same thing over and over. You keep talking about
So you agree with that, right, Witsit?
If you notice in your GIF at 122, they have to step on that trampoline probably to keep that guy from being launched out away from the vehicle. I just noticed that.
That's nonsense.
You're going with the vehicle for the most part, but if you don't step on that trampoline, that guy is probably going to be launched far from the vehicle.
They're pushing down. What are they doing?
Yeah, that way he has a pocket and lands in place.
Let's take
Otherwise, he'd be
what
launched.
you just said very carefully. Are they pushing down?
Yes.
So how is it preventing the guy from shooting off sideways?
He lands in a pocket as opposed to be launched outward. If they didn't step on it, it would be a little off and he'd be launched at an angle.
I like how they add rationalizations are added.
What about Steve-O jumping off the truck into the water?
You can see him fall behind slightly at that angled shot that they give you. You see what it's doing as you would with the side-on profile. It's a bit more straight on. He's falling.
It looks like he's moving forward, though.
It looks like he's falling just a little slightly behind the vehicle, but that angled shot really kind of makes it hard to tell.
Well, there is wind resistance being applied to him too, right, Witsit or Lemon? There is wind resistance that would slow him down a little bit from his time that he jumps off to when he hits the water.
Right.
But he more or less is landing. He's more or less still landing in the water directly underneath the truck, even though the truck has now moved, 60, 80 feet further.
But this mathematical idealism where you're saying that, this force would just go perfectly in step with the object is a little questionable.
Hold on,
For an
it's not
object to move,
idealism.
it needs to
It's
be
called
given
the
an
conservation
impetus.
of
You
momentum.
can see it right there in that
Will
truck
not
jump.
eternally be with the object.
But Lemon, you
It's
can
not
clearly see it in this
idealism,
truck jump.
Lemon. It's called
You
the
can clearly
conservation
see
of
it.
momentum, and it's demonstrated for
It's
you.
very,
so
you can see
succinctly
it in that
here.
video.
The thing that makes that idealism, sir, is this idea that it'll just keep moving without the energy being absorbed or without an additional impetus of energy. That's a little absurd.
Here's my exact question.
Objects continue to move as long as there's no other forces applied to them.
Okay, cool. We
According
got
to
it.
this idealistic theory, yes,
First law
Fred.
depends. First law is applied to the conservation law.
Okay, you got your phrases you regurgitate, but I want everyone here to really pay attention and see if they can answer the question for once. If a plane, the Earth's supposedly spinning a certain direction, correct? It's going west to east. If I land my plane going west, the moment that those wheels touch the Earth, is the plane going forward or backwards?
With respect to what?
Relative to
movement. All movement.
Relative to the Earth's surface, we can say the plane is definitely going forward.
Okay, and so in overall, is it going forward or backwards at the moment that the wheel touched the Earth?
With respect to what?
In general, it has to go forward.
All motion is relative with this.
Really, so you can go forward and
Relative.
backward at the same time.
You can do this on a train. You can throw a paper airplane to the back of the train while the train's moving forward. Someone on the outside will see the paper airplane. It's weirdly moving backwards.
Yeah.
So
Witsit, Witsit, real quick. Have you ever transported a fish tank with fish in it?
Have you ever tried to answer the question, when the wheel hits the Earth, is it going
Oh,
forward?
hold on. This addresses your question. Have you ever transported a fish tank with fish in it, like in a car, or just carrying it?
That's analogous.
Have you ever done that?
Do you think that's analogous? No, it's not.
Very much so. Yes,
Not
it
even
is.
close. Not even close.
Yeah, because the fish seem to be able, even though you have a motion that's, say, a certain direction. It doesn't matter which direction it is at this point. It could be left, right, sideways. Doesn't really matter. But the fish carry on.
They
right?
don't care.
They're able to move.
Talking about the very moment that the wheel hits.
Yeah, the very moment that a fish could easily go from one end of the tank to the other.
I'm not sure what you mean about this moment. What's it about the wheels hitting? Because airplanes need forward airspeed in order to create lift under its wings, right? I mean, probably a better example would be a helicopter, which doesn't need that. So the airplane will always, unless there's a very, very strong headwind that's enough, like a carbon cub or something that can land in 30-mile-per-hour wind. If there's a 30-mile-per-hour headwind, the wheels can land with zero relative motion to the surface. But most airplanes need forward speed to generate lift, so they're always going to have, the wheels will have forward motion relative to the surface of the Earth, which is why, the tires smoke when an airliner lands on a runway.
You guys see how frantically you have to try to muddy down the water? Right?
There was nothing frantic. I was giving you a concise explanation, or at least as concise as I can make it.
No, it's a very.
Do you disagree with that?
No, your answer should be very concise, right? It's not. You never answer the questions. At the very moment that the wheel touches the ground while it's landing west and the Earth is spinning west to east, at that very moment, which direction is the wheel going? What happens? Is it going forward or backwards? What exactly happens?
The aircraft is most certainly moving forward relative to the surface of the Earth.
So the entrance to that frame of reference is seamless.
Obviously, that's what's going to make the wheel turn forward as soon as the plane touches the ground.
It's that the Earth isn't moving.
Negative. The plane is moving relative to the Earth's surface, obviously.
He's acting like the plane
if the surface of the Earth isn't spinning, how would planes land? The exact same way they land, right?
The direction of the motion is irrelevant. The plane has motion relative to the surface of the Earth. You're currently trying to debunk being able to take a shit in an airplane.
Oh, that's so stupid.
I mean, it's the same as the drone. You're trying to debunk the drone flying around, which is literally analogous to the airplane flying around in the Earth.
No, it's not, dude.
Why is it not?
It's absolutely the same.
No, it's absolutely not. You're in a closed system
it
of the
is.
plane, which
How
has
would it
nothing
not
to
be?
do with the spinning
You're in a
Earth.
closed system on Earth.
No, you're not. Oh, wait, Earth's a closed system, Brenda?
It's a quasi-closed system. It's closed in for all practical purposes. It's closed.
Oh, all
With respect
practical
to- with
purposes.
With respect to this problem, yeah, it
No,
is.
that's not how this works. It's either opened or
Yeah,
closed.
it is.
Hold on.
No, it's not.
Don't deviate
Yes,
to
it
that.
is.
Don't follow
Well,
the
the
red
only
herring.
problem with this relative reference frame garbage is we still have to ask if there's an absolute reference frame that moves very little, if at all, relative to everything else. That
There's
appears
no
to
absolute reference
which
frame.
gives us an
There is no absolute
reference
reference frame,
Absolute
Lemon. There's no
frame.
absolute reference frame.
There is-
No such thing.
They only deny that because they want to
Because
destroy the mind that looks for foundational ultimate truth and let you choose any sort of referent that you want. It's just a
What's a reference
Hey, when you,
frame?
hey, Brenda,
So
watch this,
locate
Brenda,
the
Brenda,
absolute
when you get
reference
out of the
frame
car, Brenda, when you get out of the car
Earth
that's
and the
moving,
motionless earth.
hey, if you get out of a car that's
Locate it,
moving,
though.
what happens when your feet hit the ground, Brenda?
My feet will continue. My feet will continue. My feet will continue to hold the speed, the momentum they had when they were in the car. So if I just step out and the car is moving, my feet will engage with friction with the ground, and my feet will continue to move forward. And then I'll be thrown flat on my face.
Okay.
Brenda, hold on. Before you say, let me ask a question, Brenda. Brenda, what happens if you slow down the car to a stop and then get out? And then what happens to your feet when you get out?
Then I just walk out.
Thank you. All right, what were you going to say, Witsit? That was probably dumb.
So whenever the plane hits the ground, right? You have the same analogy as you stepping out of a moving vehicle. But the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour the opposite direction at the same time.
No, it's only movement in the reference frame of the Earth. You can consider the motion of the Earth to be stationary with respect, to the plane, or the plane is moving with respect to the Earth, right?
It's going forward and backwards at the same time.
No.
The plane has to be going forward.
You
and
don't
backwards at the
understand a
same
reference.
time.
You don't understand a reference frame. You can consider, according to reference frames, you can consider the Earth to be stationary, and the plane is moving with respect to the Earth.
So we can consider the Earth to be stationary, but
Yes,
we
yes,
know
you
it's
can-
actually
yes.
spinning 1,000 miles per
Just
hour.
like you consider, just like you can consider a train to be moving, to be stationary, but you can still balance things and do things inside of the train with respect to the motion of the train.
Hey, here's the deal. Objectively, your side has to say that when that plane lands west, it's going forward and backwards simultaneously.
We don't have to say that.
Yes, you do.
No, we don't.
You
Because
know, I mean,
there's two different reference frames.
Yeah, from
Stop
some
just
reference
saying that
frame out,
word.
out
I
in space somewhere,
absolutely
you
love-
could say that.
I absolutely love when flat earthers tell globe model what it needs to say instead of
Because
actually looking at
we know the globe model.
instead of actually looking at the real globe model.
Oh,
You
well-
just tell us what it
Well,
says.
Witsit is saying
Well,
is
your globe
accurate,
model
though.
objectively says that.
From an outside, from some outside perspective, that's from outside the Earth. Yeah, the airplane would be moving, forward and forward relative to the motion of the surface of the Earth, but backward but the surface of the Earth and the airplane moving backward within the perspective of someone outside of the Earth. That's all, and none of that, and none of that. There's nothing contradictory about it because you could literally observe the same thing if you're watching a bus, someone throwing a ball back and forth on a bus that's driving down the road, and you're looking at it from the side of the road. You would see the same thing. The ball could be moving forward relative to the floor of the bus, but it could look like it's moving backward relative to the ground that the bus is driving on.
Okay, so whenever the plane is flying west, it's going forward however many 100 miles per hour, also going backwards at the same time. Not exactly 1,000 miles per hour because there's a different frame of reference in the atmosphere that moves.
Well, I think you mean going east, right? Because the Earth moves east to west, but essentially, yes. From an outside perspective, it would be just the same as someone throwing a ball back and forth on a bus, and someone that's sitting on a bench on the road looks inside the bus, and he would see the ball that appears to be moving backwards relative to the motion of the bus, but referencing the ground, right? But from the perspective of people on the bus, it's moving forward.
It could be in in a bus, a transparent bus, somebody sitting on a chair outside of the bus, and somebody throwing a ball inside of the bus backwards with sufficient force that to the person outside, it looks like the ball holds completely still.
Right. Someone showed a picture of that, of a ball being shot backwards at the same speed of a car moving forward, and the ball just appears to suddenly just drop without moving.
Yeah, well, your religion claims we're in an open system and a vacuum, and that there's a deflection in the atmospheric movement, right? And the Earth's spin. And then you're going
I just told you, in our model, the atmosphere is viscously coupled to the surface of the Earth.
You said it's coupled but decoupled, more or less.
It's the same way as the water in a bucket is viscously coupled to the surface of the bucket, but the water is still free to move around, but there is drag that's being... What do you mean it's not? When you spin a bucket, when you spin a bucket with water in it, the water starts to spin in the bucket. And then when you stop spinning the bucket, if you instantly stop the bucket, the water will continue to spin for a while until eventually the viscous coupling with the surface will slow the water down.
Don, shut the fuck up. Of course you can spin water in a bucket and the water starts to turn.
Show us the Earth model. Show us.
Hey, shut up, moron. Shut up. So I could take a large circular pool, and I could just put in a paddle and move it in a consistent direction, and at first only part of the water inside will move with the paddle, but eventually the entire pool will move in a circular direction along with the paddle, because that's how fluids act.
Hey, you claim the atmosphere is moving independent of the Earth, right? And it's something called Coriolis.
How is a curve? How does a pitcher curve a curveball? He spins the curveball, which the air near the surface of the ball will viscously couple to the surface of the ball and start moving with the surface of the ball, which will create a higher and low pressure zone that curves the ball. That's how a curveball is done. It's done by it uses the Magnus effect to curve the ball.
How's that analogous to the Earth spinning and the atmosphere also?
Because as the Earth spins, the atmosphere is dragged along with the surface of the Earth.
But also moves at its own.
It's not perfectly lockstep. It's not in perfect lockstep the way that Quantum Eraser likes to say, but it is more or less moving with the same velocity. The same way that when you start spinning water in a bucket, it will eventually start moving at more or less the same speed as the bucket is spinning.
There's no more or less here. If it's different, it's different. And so you're landing in a different frame of reference.
There's other forces in the atmosphere. There's other forces at play, right? Primarily the sun, which is adding energy into the system, which is why we get local winds. We get hurricanes, right?
Hold on. Witsit just tried to debunk magnitudes. Can we get on that?
Wow.
Magnitudes? I didn't catch that.
No, he's trying to say more or less is just different, which means they have to be completely different.
I never said that.
Yeah, pretty much. You said they have to be different.
Wow, you really crushed that one.
Yeah, that's what you
that's your
said.
response, huh?
Which means they have to be completely different. They are different, and you're going to have a difference because, listen, you're going to have a difference because they're different.
And how much of
you
a
guys are
difference
saying
is
that
that?
there is no
And
difference.
how much of a difference is that?
You guys are saying there's no difference. You can't detect any difference.
Don't tell everybody what they're
Negative.
telling you. You just tell
It is
us.
objectively what you're saying.
That is not what we are saying. What
You're
we
saying
are
you can't detect
is-
any difference.
What we are hold on, Witsit.
Hold on.
What we're saying is the atmosphere is loosely coupled to the surface of the Earth. We are not saying that it is tightly coupled to the surface of the Earth. You can stop lying at any time now.
So you guys say that there is no difference detected.
Hey,
Negative.
Doofus.
You can stop
Doofus.
lying at any time now.
So we do see a difference when we see the plane land in different directions on the Earth relative to its movement?
Depends on how it got there, because
It flew.
Wind. Wind does exist.
Okay, so you don't see a difference based on the movement of the Earth.
Not for east to west travel. It shouldn't.
Okay, so you're saying the difference isn't detected.
Because it shouldn't.
Okay, so you are saying that the difference isn't detected, just like I said, and you argued against.
Because there's no reason for it to. Can I make this any clearer for you?
Well, that's a cool claim.
No, he's really, really dumb.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I
really
can make
dumb.
that claim because I'm using the definition of the Coriolis effect. What you're using
Okay.
what you're using is not the definition of the Coriolis effect.
What is the definition? Do you understand the Coriolis? What is the definition?
It's just
Witsit?
hypothetical.
No, but what is the definition of our
An
hypothetical?
apparent deflection of bullshit that doesn't exist.
That's not the definition of Coriolis.
Yes, it is.
Again?
No, wait. How is it made up? I'm just curious. Then please.
It's not real.
Okay, so it's not real. Then
That's
you
right.
Can explain. Okay, then can you explain why it happens in the oceans?
Can I explain why? What happens? That the movement all goes in certain directions based on the locations on the Earth.
Not all of it, and no one said
Wait,
anything.
do you
about all
guys
of
think that if I flush a toilet on the northern hemisphere,
No,
I wanted
said
you to
the
answer.
ocean, dude. I said the ocean. I said nothing
Do you
about
think
toilet.
that all the hurricanes go in different directions in the north and south?
Are they supposed to all go one direction?
Do they go yeah, supposedly, right? So, do they go one direction in the north?
What? Hold up. All the hurricanes, all over everywhere, all of them, all go in one direction.
I didn't say that. Cool straw man. So, according to your religion, right, and what you just
I don't have a religion.
there should be a different.
I'm not a baller, so this doesn't help you.
Yeah,
I'm
you are. Yeah, you are.
I'm asking you.
You are a baller.
No.
So stop lying about it. Be honest. Be honest. You know.
Of replacement. Falsification is independent of replacement.
Welcome to Flat Earth.
I don't have to be, dude. There are no valid arguments for the flat Earth.
But we falsified your fairy tale that you keep defending. So,
you haven't.
Do the hurricanes move in different directions in the north and south? Yes or no?
Some call them cyclones in the southern hemisphere.
Do they all move in one direction on the north and another one on the south? Yes or no?
They necessarily move in different directions because of the Coriolis.
Why are you talking about the sky? I'm asking about the water, the oceans. Why is
me too, you dumbass. I'm talking about hurricanes.
No, that's the sky. That's the sky.
Hurricanes don't happen in the ocean.
In the ocean? They're in the water?
There are tidal pools within the ocean, but that could be from a hole underneath the surface. The thing is, the Coriolis is basically spin deflection from something spinning. The thing that's spinning could be the ether, space itself, over the motionless Earth.
Water also spins.
Where's what's causing the deflection in the middle of the ocean?
The ether swirl, wind. Underground undersea patterns, you get currents and eddies based off of the temperature of the water, the density of the water.
How do you get an eddy?
There's different things that can cause that stuff.
I said, really? So there's no such thing as the Coriolis effect in the
Coriolis basically means something is spinning. The thing that is spinning could be space.
That's not what the Coriolis is.
One saying the Coriolis effect isn't real. It isn't real. It isn't real pertaining to your fairy tale Earth.
No, make up your mind.
Brenda, what's the Coriolis effect? Then I said it was a deflection due to spin. What do you say that it is?
It's caused by the conservation of angular momentum.
Which begs the question and says that something started moving and just keeps moving.
It doesn't beg any questions. It's just a definition. Definitions don't beg questions.
The definition is useless if it doesn't give meaningful action or guide meaningful exploration of the topic.
It has explanatory power. It explains hurricanes and cyclones.
The hurricanes and cyclones could be from the substance of space itself, the ether, spinning in different eddies and currents over the surface, spinning the air in a different way over said
ether
surface.
Was falsified.
Eddies and
falsified.
Hold on, eddies and currents are going to be turbulent, and they're not all going to be pushing every